Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Welcome back to the Muslim Men Unfiltered podcast. I'm here joined with my co host, Noman, and today we're getting real about what it means to take responsibility as a Muslim man. Whether that's breaking addictions, transforming your body, or preparing yourself for marriage, we're talking accountability, the impact of social media, and how the struggles you choose will shape the man you become. Let's dive in.
You deal with like addiction.
Right.
But how many of them do you get when they say that it's not actually my fault? How many times have you come across a client where when you're in a meeting, because I
None.
it's the same thing with me, whether it's food addiction or a guy who doesn't want to get in shape, but he wants to get in shape. He wants to get in shape, but at the same time, he doesn't want to put in the effort to get into shape. But he's still there with you. So, and I'm sure you've had that moment where you're sitting with a guy and he wants to quit his addiction,
Yeah.
but he still doesn't want to do the work to quit the addiction. So I think where I'm coming from is there's also a sense of he needs to take accountability on himself.
Hmm.
But how do you deal with that guy? That guy who comes to you, he's here, he wants help, but he doesn't want to do anything.
Right. Um, to answer your first question, I don't think I haven't encountered any clients or that said like they've absolved themselves from their problem, their issue, like the addiction. Um, if anything, they've kind of probably shouldered too much burden to the point like it's made them ineffective in actually taking the steps to actually go through the recovery process and quit. But haven't come across anyone that's um, pretty much said like, yeah, this is like I'm not like held accountable. It's an addiction, and yeah, that's it. Like it's a medical type thing. Um, I guess it wouldn't come to me if they kind of had that mindset anyway, right? They just would have already quietly accepted accepted it and said like, yeah, this I guess it is what it is, you know. And I guess yeah, that in that situation, yeah, they didn't take responsibility, and pretty much yeah, maybe they just gave up. You know what I mean? Too many failed attempts. Um, yeah. What about yourself? Have you like because
Because
everyone
my
everyone knows
question,
what this?
yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I don't even know if I answered your question.
yeah, no, it's just because the reason I brought that up is I recently had someone who, so they came to me. Obviously, they've paid. So when you've come to a coach of any kind, I
Hmm.
expect you to put in the work because you've put in money, and if you're here, that means you put your hand up, said, "I have a problem, help me." But what's interesting is they've paid, they've put in the effort, and then within a week or two, they're gone AWOL. You can message them, you talk to them, they're like, everything's going all right, alhamdulillah, but he's actually not following his meal plan.
Hmm.
He's not hitting the gym.
Yo.
He's not even waking up on time. He only wakes up to go to work, and that's it. That's his life. He's still lazy. But somehow he feels that when he, just by purchasing the course, purchasing the program, his results are going to come. I think I find myself in the same situation sometimes when it comes to business. So we're both part of the same business course, and then at times when I applied, I was like, "Oh, now everything's gonna work out," and it's one of the hardest thing I've done in my life. Like,
Yeah.
it's the dealing with my own business is one of the hardest things I've ever done, and it's been like 7 months officially, almost 8 months that I've been doing this straight, and even looking back, I'm like, "There's so much more I could have done to make it work out." And in the
Yeah.
end, no course, no program, no coach could have helped me. They could have motivated me, they could have given me the right advice, but it still came down to me doing the work. I think how do you deal with a client that even though you've given everything to him, he's struggling? So with addiction is more it's basically relapse. In the fitness space, it would be more laziness or lack of commitment. I think so. How would you deal with that guy who just no matter what, you've given him all the tools, but he can't get it out of his head? Whether it's he feels guilty, feels ashamed, or he feels like, you know what, one more time. Because you deal with Muslims, so there's
Yeah.
also the spiritual aspect. Allah is watching me. So maybe he thinks, okay, one more time, Allah will forgive me or whatever. Whatever it is, like how do you deal with a guy who just keeps relapsing?
Mm. Yeah, so I just try to change like the kind of habits, right? Because it's the kind of little things that make like a big difference. So I try to make it easy for them. Like just concentrate on not going to bed with your phone, for instance, like in the evenings. And if they just manage to replace like that one habit of if they use their phone as an alarm clock just to get like a regular alarm clock. So just the one habit. I don't try to make them like overwhelming because, like like you said, um, that there would be people that think like, okay, right, like they're pumped when they purchase the course and they're working with with that coach who's got success behind him, examples and things like that. But it doesn't mean that that's going to be guaranteed for you um, at that time, right? Like after that, like there's the kind of work, like the boring stuff, the things that are not exciting that you have to repeatedly do to create new habits um, and kind of rewire how you were going before. And so yeah, just like a simple change like that. And if they're not, and it's really evident, it's really clear if they're not doing that because I'll just get them to report to me and say that they've actually done it. And if it's either they did it or not. And sometimes it's like they don't even know that they're repeating the same patterns just because they've been lost in it for so many years and decades. So for them, and you think at that point, like, oh, this guy's consciously choosing to not listen and make these changes. But no, he's just like they don't see it. So you're a lot of the time you're like your your work is to kind of wake them up to their own patterns that's been happening on autopilot and get them to realize like, oh, okay, like yeah, I did repeat. Okay, this relapse is exactly the same as the last one, and the one before that, and the one before that, and in getting them to understand like, hey, you just make this one amendment, this change, um, and just see the outcomes change, and then refine the process. Okay, it's because you don't want to just relapse to the same exact kind of way each and every time without at least taking the learnings out of it. Because then you're not taking a negative outcome into a positive. Because there's no way that all of a sudden you're just gonna resist just through sheer willpower. You need to continually adjust your continually refine and adjust and learn to the point like okay, and now you're kind of growing understanding like your patterns and your behaviors to the point like now it's like you understand exactly like what's kind of happened and transpired, and it gets a bit convoluted as they go on because at the beginning it's simple things, but sometimes people may have like kind of deep emotional psychological things they got to unpack, so that takes more work. But for people who don't kind of like have those type of issues, um, it's more about just conscious good behavior where you're removing yourself from being the own impediment to your own success.
But okay, going back to that, it says sometimes it could be trauma, it could be something else that's leading to it. So then we're trying to get them to be accountable for themselves. Let's say,
Yeah.
argument's sake, the client is like, it was because of my mom, I'm like this. Whatever reason. It doesn't need to be abuse. It could be like emotional trauma, whatever. And
Mm.
that's why I keep watching this stuff and doing these things.
Yeah.
We're trying to get him to be accountable for his actions.
Yeah.
But then part of the blame after talking to him realizes on his mom. So how do you work through that? Because I can see someone saying, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm now relieved from the feeling of guilt. It's partially this person's fault. Now I don't feel as bad when I watch that stuff." Can you
Mm.
see that making them go backwards. In not backwards in a bad way, but in the sense where before they were felt horrible, they're watching this and whatever,
Yeah.
and they're doing whatever. But now it's like I can see that they might actually feel a sense of relief, and they might actually feel more comfortable to do what they were already doing, watching stuff or masturbation. Do you think you could fall in that way?
Mm. Um, I don't think they've I don't think it's that simple that they've connected it that clearly. Like they know they have like this deep, kind of this deep emotional issue, like with their like mother or something like that, and then they like, okay, this is my coping mechanism. I haven't encountered anyone that kind of made that clear correlation, and they consciously know that that's what the issue is. I think it's happened like unconsciously, and then just from like um having the sessions and getting them to kind of talk about and break down their kind of relapses, because that's where the gold is understanding from a relapse and getting them to kind of hold the hand and like really understand it. um and yeah, shame doesn't work at all. Like I don't shame, there's no judgment on my side as a coach. It's just to help them kind of understand what was their kind of emotional state, what was the kind of patterns that what they were doing before. Um, so obviously there's a behavioral aspect, because it's like accessibility is obviously the number one kind of issue, especially in 2025. With our phones and technological devices. So accessibility is obviously something that we try to limit in the high risk kind of zones, in the areas and the time, because usually happens in the evenings, and it's always in their bedroom. Like it's there's a really high correlation of that from what I've observed. So just like eliminating device use in the evenings, that's just an accessibility issue. But as we progress and we're kind of working on um, like the deeper emotional stuff, um, yeah, I don't think they've consciously said like, okay, I have an issue with this. I'm going to deal with it this way. Maybe they've done that with like stress from work or stress from pressure that they've put on them themselves, or maybe it's like a feeling of being inadequate, the pressures of um, trying to be a alpha man. I got to be a provider to attract the. And I don't say like I don't say that like, I know I kind of use that terminology, not to like in a way of having a jab at people, but like people like this is a real thing. Like there are Muslim men that are kind of trying to figure out like how are they going to attain and provide like the status and the financial to be able to provide and attract a wife. And so some people kind of they like you use that as like you rise to the challenge, or some people kind of like they just like feel quite defeated about that, and emotionally they get out of balance, and so like they use porn to kind of deal with that stress or that inadequacy that they feel in their career or wherever they are financially. So maybe that needs, and sometimes maybe they're not fully conscious that like porn has become like the coping mechanism at that point. At that point, so it's just kind of giving them the tools to kind of understand where they're at. Because a lot of times it's like I said, it's they feel a certain type of way, and then they just kind of they this is the coping mechanism that they've gone to for many decades, and obviously now at this point it's progressed to being an addiction. Um, so it's another elaborate answer, but hopefully it answered your question. Um,
Yeah. No, I think I found within fitness coaching the there's definitely an emotional aspect to it, especially those people who feel worthless. A lot of people, not a lot. I say not to me. Haven't had a lot of people come to me feeling worthless. I've had a lot of people come to me being like, I saw that video of you and you know what? That really inspired me and I want to change.
mm,
But on social media and online, you will find guys who will message me saying, I feel X, Y, and Z. I feel useless. So as clients, I haven't really found many. I think only maximum two who really everyone's had an element of it, but I've had two who really felt this year. that really felt like they are not men.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was very deep, and I think what happens with as with the and I think you'd find is the porn recovery coach as well because it's a very intimate coaching program.
Yeah.
What you do in mine gets quite intimate as well because you go from a fitness coach to essentially a life coach
Yeah.
because I need to understand why you're so stressed out, why you're not sleeping, and something as simple as that. I'm just doing it for recovery's sake. I just want you to recover, but then it gets down to my wife and I were just having an argument yesterday, and that's why. And my kids aren't allowing me to sleep. This is why. And then we go from there to work just sucks. I hate work. Okay, why do you hate work? And then we're just trying to deal with these cortisol levels. But from that we go to, you know what? I just hate it. I wish I did this when I was younger. And then it just gets
Wow.
deeper and deeper. Yeah. So it's a very. That's why one thing I do is all my clients are in one group chat. The ones basically, if someone joins a program where in Ramadan I had Ramadan recharge, there was about 6 people, 6 brothers I took. They will always have their own group chat, and that exists. But
Mhm.
new clients every month that come in, because I never take more than 5. It was just Ramadan that was something special. I was ready to take 10, but I only took 6 because I realized it's too much. But I'll have them only one group chat so they can speak to each other, talk to each other, and they get very close. But with me, obviously, they get closer because we learn a lot about them. So I'm always in contact with them even after they leave. We usually get very close. And that's especially because I don't take like 100 people. I only have 5 max because I don't want more than that. You can't do a good job as a coach by yourself.
Mhm.
And what I found is everyone feels a sense of incompetence. And it's and then I always have to look back at myself as well when I see the situations, and then I realize they're not struggling with self accountability. When you started off this and you're saying like no one's coming to save you. What I've found within my coaching is they agree no one's coming to save them, and they feel like they don't deserve to be saved. As
Yeah.
opposed to as opposed to some guys online where you used to be like, it's not fair, it's injustice, we hate women, or we hate this, life's hard. Like I get them too, but they're just dashing blame. The guys that I've come, and maybe it's because it's a spiritual aspect. Like we both work with Muslims, so maybe their mindset's a bit different. And they come to Muslim coaches on purpose because they want an Islamic aspect.
Yep.
So they will hold themselves to account anyway. That's what I found. But they feel more so that they're not even worthy of love. Like they're not worthy of Allah's love, and they're not worthy of all this amazing family that they have. But they're like, I'm not worthy of it inside. And because of that, I've come to you to change. But also, what you don't realize is when you feel like you're not worth it, the people around you start feeling like you're not worth it.
Mm.
They like indirectly, if you don't have a good self worth, your wife, as much as she loves you, she's like, this guy is depressing. Inside, she's not gonna say that to you, but slowly, she's gonna be like, well, he doesn't talk to me the way he did. He's not as intimate in the way he was. He's has no self-esteem. She will slowly lose respect for you. Even a good, respectful wife. Like there's something in the back of her head that's like, there's a distance between us. Why? But and that's the sad thing is it's your fault.
Mm.
Even if you are weak, even if you are fat, even if you're too skinny and you need to change, the fact that you hate yourself. There's one thing like I've woken up and I've hated myself because I let myself go. But I still felt like I'm worth it. That's why I'm gonna change. They feel like
Yeah.
I'm not worth it at all. And then after they change, they get it's a different transformation because they're talking to me one to one. I can motivate them. But you will find guys within the fitness space. That's why body dysmorphia and steroids is so huge now. It's literally like an epidemic, steroid use. And in the UK, it's getting worse
Mm. And
because what's it called? Yeah, they feel like
and would you say that that's only amongst non-Muslims, or would you say Muslims are falling into that as
no
well?
Muslims is both
Wow.
because
Okay.
the idea of your body image is universal for men and women. And
Yeah.
it's always been mostly women because all forms of media and marketing for self image was for women throughout the centuries.
Mhm.
Beauty. But now men, and that's because of social media. Because we can see men, and when you see guys, even as a Muslim, where oh, I don't want to have girlfriends and all this, you still see a guy getting attention from women, and that's his
Mm.
whole brand. You're like, wow, yeah, you're like, wow,
Yeah,
something hits you,
yeah.
and then and even if you have like a loving wife and you have kids and you're respected,
Mm,
something in you is like, but he also has a better body than me. He's also taller than me. He also has more cars than me. And it seems like he's happier. Seems that's the thing. They don't know how his life really is.
mm,
But it seems like he's happier without a wife by
mm.
having, or maybe he has multiple wives. But it seems like
Mm,
he's happier and he's a Muslim guy with like three, four wives. And there's all these kids. And he's like, the Prophet ﷺ said to have kids because he would boast upon them. That's why I have four wives and I have 20 kids. And they see it and
right.
they're like, I'm still not on that level yet. It's
Yeah,
a point of no one's content.
yeah, right. It's kind of like, yeah, like with a client that I worked with, uh, exactly what you just said. Like there was like a big part of like one of the major reasons like he would like that was the cause of his relapses was he felt like he wasn't man enough. And he'd seen like these Muslim influencers who overall they are by and large they're sending a great message that you need to, live life with a sense of purpose, have like a goal, have a mission, have a vision. So these are all positive messages, right? Because it's upon how the person interprets that message. uh, the person who sends that message, like they can't be held accountable for anything negative, right? So the way he receives that message is that like, well, I'm not doing any of those things. And then instead of like taking that message as like inspiration for them to kind of to elevate themselves, now feel that they feel kind of emasculated by that, that they don't have a mission and vision. They're not doing something for the ummah. Like I'm not doing dawah. I'm not um like whatever the kind of cool thing is that kind of that's getting all of the clout in the Muslim space. Like he feels less of himself. Like he feels like less because of that. And because of that kind of emotional state that he gets into, he it ends up pushing him the way he's kind of unpacking all of this, that pushes towards like a relapse. And and when you try to like kind of, you know, to help them kind of unpack that, they they're attached like to like what you said. They don't feel like they're worthy. And no matter like what you say, they just like kind of take it down into a place where they don't feel like it's always going to be negative, something that's going to put them down even less. Um, and you just want to give them the tools to be able to just kind of process those emotions um, and to have a bit of self compassion. Because without a level of self compassion, like you beating yourself up, like that doesn't actually get you anywhere. It doesn't make you want to take the positive steps. It doesn't want you. It doesn't want to make you do the little habits, build the little actions that amass to like actual bigger outcomes in the long term. So it almost becomes like a crutch. Like the more I beat myself up, the more better I feel. Then the more like somehow the equation is you get more pity. I beat myself up, put myself down, and then they somehow it becomes like a crutch they develops. Um, then it leads to kind of relapses, and yeah, and I'm really surprised that you say like because you in fitness space. Yeah, I'm surprised that you're kind of dealing with that level of
Yeah.
kind of uh emotional baggage, emotional sensitivities, like those type of doubts. Um, yeah, I'm really kind of surprised by that. Like, yeah, is that a common thing that you're dealing with? So it's not just
I
about you know calories
think
and
it's
lifting.
yeah, because I'm a There's personal trainers where you sign up to the app. You might have a talk with them one to one, sometimes weekly coaching call, Zoom call, monthly, or whatever. That's different because it's not actually one to one. I am a one to one coach, so you have 24/7 access to me. You can call me like my dad calls me whenever you want and talk to me. So that way, and it's very personal. That's why I take very few people. So when we sit down and talk to one another, I will be on you, hammering you down. Did you wake up today for your gym session because we said we were going to go at this time? Did you eat your meals today? Send me pictures. They're sending me pictures of the food, everything. So when the smallest thing is a bit off, I'm like, okay, then what happened? Because there's one thing jumping onto a coaching call once a week and then being, or once a month. Some people do once a month and be
Mm,
like, so how did this month go, bro? Yeah, alhamdulillah, everything was okay. I didn't drop as much weight as I wanted to, but it's going there. But when I see you every day and I'm like, why did you overdo it today? Oh no, I went out with friends. Okay, that's fine. This is what we're gonna do to counteract anything that went wrong, overeating, any chocolates and milkshakes you had. This is what we're gonna do next day. Okay. But then I'm like, wait, there's a pattern. Now you're telling me you're going out with friends every single day. What's happening? Like you can't just sign up to a program saying you're gonna change your life, but then you do the same thing over and over again. Now we sit down and have a personal call for like an hour or two. Tell me what's wrong. Is this how your lifestyle is? And sometimes one guy I told him, you need to change your friends. Oh, because we got really close. I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I'm your fitness coach. But we're here to have a whole life. We're Sunnah is strength. We implement Islamic principles in it. And I'll be no sugarcoating. I'm your coach. You paid me. You paid me like a grand. No sugarcoating. No sugarcoating. Your friends can either lead you to Jannah or lead you to Jahannam. These guys that you're out with, if they really had your best interest in mind, they wouldn't be making you eat this stuff consistently every single day. And they wouldn't be making fun of you because some of them make fun of him for being in a coaching program. Then I'm like, because if he's telling me
yeah.
this, there's a deep rooted insecurity about the way he looks and feels.
Mm,
So I'm like, if you want to hit the gym, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna go to work and they're gonna laugh at you because you're fat. And they're gonna say, oh, you hit the gym this morning and you didn't. And I know why you didn't because you don't even want to show up to work and tell them you did because they make fun of you when you do and they make fun of you when you don't. And it's easier to just not go because you're gonna be made fun of either way.
right.
So when we deal with that, then it's like, okay, you know what? If it's a work thing, that's different. I haven't had much of that. That was just an example. I've had more of a friend thing where you go out with them afterwards and they make fun of you. I haven't had anyone so far that their work colleagues have made fun of them. That's different. But the best thing I told the guys, they're not your friends for now. They're your friends. You don't want to break ties with them. If you think there's some goodness in them, fine. What's it called? The time when you're supposed to be with them, that's the time when you're gonna go to gym instead. Give yourself a rest, go to bed. Can you hit the gym in the evening? Is your gym busy? Actually, it's not that bad. Okay, go to the gym. And is anyone you go with? He goes, there's one guy. I'm like, bring him. Even if he doesn't know what to do, let him copy your workout. I don't mind. Just do the workout with him. He's got a new best friend. They were training together every time. And he
Mm,
likes the company of this guy clearly more than all these other guys. He hasn't even seen them in a while. He randomly bumps into them here and there. They might go out to eat, but he doesn't like it because he realized the time that he used to spend going out and eating with them, for them to not only just him eating bad food, he's getting insulted. He's getting mocked. These are bad company. And he's getting no benefit being with them. I didn't at that time, I didn't ask him, like, do you guys go to pray together? Because I just assumed he was out Salah time. But I've had
mm,
another person where I'm like, dude, you spend all day out. When do you pray? He goes, when I come home, I pray them all together. Oh, no, no, no. See, then that was a whole
okay.
other thing we had to deal with. So
Right.
that's the point. When you come to a Muslim coach, like I'm called Sunnah strength, I will make sure we follow the Sunnah as much as we can, inshallah. And
Mm,
then when we realign everything, so much baggage comes out. And
bloody
that's
hell.
when, like, yeah, and that's when those intimate moments that they should normally they'd be hiding it, they're ashamed to say it. But there's certain people like to a coach, like to you, where they need to tell you they're doing these haram acts. They have to tell
Mm,
you because that's what they're here for. It's private. And then because we get so close, they might open up to me and I'm like, something else going on. You're not there's something's causing you to be so lazy. Why? I keep watching pornography, that's why. And then they come out and I've had someone say it, like, I feel horrible because he's masturbating like multiple times a day. He has no energy. He
Mm,
has nothing, and he feels like crap. And then he knows that what's it called? This guy's aware that he needs to hustle after that anyway to pray, but he doesn't because he knows he's gonna watch it again. So now he's missed like 3 salahs, and he's stuck in the loop. And then he's like, "What's the point of even going gym?" So there's nothing. There's nothing he wants to do. So eventually we get to that point where, okay, we need to solve all of this first, and we'll use your health as a tool to solve it instead of focusing on health. That's what's happened with some people who actually have problems like that, like addiction.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think fitness is really important, like activity, like in recovery. Some of the clients I have, they're already active, so there was an emphasis for them, but definitely, yeah, it is a really key way in kind of changing your mood. Um, feeling active, getting those endorphins, all of those type of things. But yeah, obviously, Salah, like yeah, that needs to obviously
Yeah,
be prioritized. So what do you find are the kind of the common kind of things that you see that's stopping people from making progress in the physical transformation that you're seeing? So you mentioned psychology, friends.
I think psychology is a huge one because it's like the foundation, especially
So
that feeling of self worth.
yeah, so
That's a
let's
big
break
one.
down psychology. Obviously, it's very broad. So in
Yeah,
your specific niche where you help people with their body transformations, and you train them, you give them a routine, a plan, everything. So yeah, well, what do you see are the things that kind of holding them back from the psychological point of view?
because like you mentioned at the start, that when someone comes to you, usually they've come to you because they're accepting they need help.
Mhm.
So they've come to me. It's not what was it? I just had it in my head. Sorry, it was
The self worth. You mentioned self worth was a big thing.
self worth, but the main thing that self worth is always there because they feel like they can do better. It just there's the dark end of self worth where I don't even deserve to get better. That's a
Yeah,
different situation. But
yeah.
yeah, but I think the biggest one is when they come to me, in my experience, is it's not accountability. I
Hmm.
don't know why I'm bugging out. There was something really important that just flew past my brain.
Okay.
But
Inshallah, you'll remember, and we can
inshallah, I
circle back.
remember. I'll circle
Um,
back. I'll move on.
so
But yeah,
it's within the psychological frame, like
yeah,
it's in that space, in the same area.
yeah. So the main reason that
And
they come to me psychologically, from a psychological perspective, when their brain is
inadequacy. I'm just gonna throw a whole bunch of terms at you until
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
remember.
Throw it, man. Yeah.
All right. If I'm like not physically in shape and I come to sunnah strength, number one, what would be the type of ailments that would have self belief, maybe belief in that they can do it. Yeah, because you said a lot of
Yeah.
you said a lot of stuff, a lot of deep stuff earlier on. So there was a friends element. There was the yeah. I don't think I'm helping you with.
Environment. Environment. Okay, friends, yeah. It was around there when we were talking that I lost it. I had such a I had such a deep thought because I was
Let you
lost
hate
in a
it.
deep trance thinking about a specific client, and then I just forgot what it was,
Oh,
what you
okay.
talked about. But we'll come back to it inshallah. But it is linked to environment. Um, that's the biggest setback
Social. So
I
when you say
find is
environment, like social environment, um,
home.
home environment.
Social for sure, but home is where everything is.
Mm,
Like the idea of home is where the heart is true. You can see what kind of person that he is when you come to his house. You know
mm,
what's in his heart. If he has a bunch of posters of anime around his room, like that is what he loves. If he has
mm,
a picture of his family everywhere around the house, you know he's a very social person, but he really loves his family. And then
mhm,
when you come to his house and you look into his fridge, the fridge has junk food in it. Like that needs to change. That's the biggest thing I tell people,
Right.
especially when you have family living with you and you're the only one on a health changing journey.
Mhm.
It's so hard to the point where I have a client right now where no matter what we've done, he's been on track and he comes off. Now he's ordering meal prep from another shop,
Yeah,
a
okay.
halal meal prep service. And that was my one of my thoughts that I think we should get him on that because he's different. He has two jobs. He works at 9 to 5, he works at 5 to 11. It's mad. And then it's him just then he does whatever he has to do at home. He does the shopping and then he goes to gym in the morning. He's a set. I got him to go to the gym at 7 a.m. So he goes 7 a.m. Alhamdulillah, it worked. The only thing is food. Like when he's gonna cook. He lives with his parents still, so he takes care of the home and he lives with the mom. So she cooks, but he now has to change the way she cooks because he won't have time to make it for himself. And obviously, she's trying to eat healthier and change as well. It's just too hard. And he has a certain protein goal he needs to hit. So we're having protein shakes, but now he's sick of it. And I get that too. So now he's finally consistently having a certain type of breakfast with eggs, a recipe that I gave, but it's still really hard. So he's doing meal preps because
Mm.
the environment is too difficult to change. If you have a wife who's cooking for you, then okay, she's cooking the same thing that you want to eat every day. That's if you're a full time working guy like him. He doesn't have a wife. Inshallah, he's gonna get married, so that's great. But still, having his mom change just for him when he has other siblings in his house,
It's
it's such
tough.
a drastic change. It's hard, and I
Yeah.
went through that. But alhamdulillah, I got to have my parents and everyone change in my house because I changed, but I had to do it myself. I was lucky
Mm.
that I gave myself the time and I had the time to cook myself, make my own food, and then implement it into my own mom's cooking. So now when she cooks, I just eat her food. I don't need to do anything. I know the calories in it.
Mm.
But
Right.
environment more than anything. That's social, friends, home, the guys you meet at the mosque, the guys you meet at work. If you have a work environment that's very social and they like doing football clubs and sports clubs afterwards, you're just gonna do it, and you're gonna become a more active guy. It doesn't matter because you see these guys like 9 hours a day, depending what kind of job you do. You're gonna go out and join them. If you had a group of friends growing up who are always playing football, you're gonna be playing football, even when you're 50. Like as long as your legs work. Because I see it right now. You got old adults like my dad's generation who just never stop playing football and they play every week. And they're old, but they still got the energy.
Mashallah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends on environment is everything because we're creatures of circumstance in a
Mm.
sense.
So when you said environment, like it got me thinking like with the approach that like I take. Um, I feel like at the beginning, obviously I try to understand everything about them, you know, get them to pretty much give me the whole life story essentially. From us, you know, and just let them take the platform so I can understand a lot about them. And sometimes, you know, people don't reveal everything because you're kind of building that relationship at the beginning and you start getting like the deeper stuff like a little bit later than you'd like. And then you're like, man, I wish I knew this earlier. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, so once we've done that, then I feel like I have to like pretty much deliver, um, change their kind of mindset when it comes to technology. Um, like I become like a almost kind of like a productivity um guy that like is talking about technology like it's doomsday. Um, particularly like when people are dealing with porn addiction and like you talk about environment, we talk about social environment. These are all environments now that we deal with on a technological level, right? Like people entire social interaction is done via tech. Like we're doing this Zoom call from across the world on Zoom, right? So this is a good example of us using technology in a positive way, inshallah.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's so many other ways you can use it to people's detriment, right? And so getting and like I take a lot of inspiration from this guy named Cal Newport. He's like a productivity like expert. He's written many books and things like that. So he's like a real, and he was saying this stuff like in I think like 2009, where like at that time like everyone was so positive about technology, the phone, like mashallah, like we're just all going to be living in this like oasis. And he took like he was quite the opposite. It was very negative about it. Um, and so I'm like kind of re-engineering their kind of the way that they look at technology pretty much in that similar frame because all of their like all my friends are on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, like you can't be on Instagram anymore, bro. Like you're trying to we're trying to limit accessibility. We're trying to limit phone use because yeah, your friends are on Instagram too, but there's also many other things that have been like a reoccurring like cause of relapse on Instagram for you. And same thing with like X, Twitter. So there's like a whole and like when they hear it from like people who come from that industry and they're talking about the dangers and how they don't even let their kids like
Yeah.
like spend X amount of time on these platforms because they're literally built to retain you, right? And the more you're retained on there, the more susceptible that you are to having a relapse because we're dealing with internet like porn addiction, right? Um, so like there's like a whole technological stance that you need to take to re-engineer them, they kind of the way that they look at it. And obviously not to an extreme level, but for some people it might seem extreme. But like that's pretty much the kind of stance that you have to take. And they probably you probably get that too. Like you want them eating these certain foods, they probably think like this is radical. Like this is food
Yeah.
extremism. You know what I mean?
It's just
And
so
it's a
different from the way they live their lives now.
yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing. Like you're like, yeah, I know you've been kind of had your phone in your bedroom at night, like for like 15 years, 20 years. Like, well, now like you can't do that anymore, and that's very hard for people.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of connecting them to like what is the goal that you want to do, want to achieve, and then like getting replacements, like because you're not gonna like they need to substitute it with something better, because you just don't want to just like leave them with nothing. Otherwise, like they're more likely to fall back. Um, so yeah, when you talk about environments, like that's the big one. Obviously, the technology. And it's really hard to change people's ways. Um, but inshallah, like when they do and they get the results and they see the benefits, like and you kind of you see that like food can be it can be something that's like
Yeah.
done in a way that's really positive for their life, and it can be done in a way where it's you're overeating to for emotional comfort, and then you feel awful about yourself because you like physically you haven't been in the way that like you've hated the way you've looked for like 10 plus years, and we're kind of dealing with the same type of issue. Um, yeah, same issue basically in that sense.
Yeah. I think the I made a reel a few days ago. It's been about 5 days now, a week. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "You are upon the religion of your friends, so
Mm,
choose them wisely." Well, something of that. I paraphrase it, and it's true because the religion of your friends. There's that study where you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with,
yeah, I've
and
heard that
it's just
quoted
true.
many times. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it like our prophet say telling us to choose those 5 people wisely, basically, essentially, because there's already another hadith that you'll be in a person, not you. We shouldn't say a person, but there's someone in Jahannam. But the people in Jannah will be saying, Ya Allah, I remember so and so did this good deed. Where is he? Then Allah says he's in hellfire. So they in Jannah will testify and say, he did this. He used to fast with us. He used to pray with us. I remember. Then Allah says, go find him, pick him out, and I'll bring him into Jannah. And that's your friend. That's not your mom. That's not your dad. That's just a righteous friend.
Mm,
That's a righteous neighbor. That's someone you spend time with. So like that's just them saving you from Jahannam. Also, like we don't want to take away from it, taking accountability, taking responsibility, because you don't want to rely on your friends. That's the whole point of this podcast today. You want to rely on yourself and you want to improve. But they having good friends, which is especially something I benefit from joining like Elevate the program that we joined together, like meeting you. I would never do this. It's because you are here, Alhamdulillah, like I can actually do something and
likewise.
talk, and I got
Yeah.
yeah, and I got the confidence to do it. And I have people in that group chat and people in Muslim Mastery when I was dealing with my confidence issues saying like, "This is a great video, bro. Oh no, keep going." and those good friends around you that can, even the friends that called me out. I think your video was a bit off. I think you said this wrong, and your perspective on Islam change it a bit. I know what you mean, but it sounds wrong. Fix a video
Mm,
instead of saying this is stupid or just laughing at you. And I still get people laughing at me in the streets, like not in a negative
okay.
way. Like it's like this old friend that now you're on YouTube. You can sense the jealousy,
Oh,
and or
okay.
this random relative is like this a random uncle is like, this is really stupid. He's just saying, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? Yeah, it's like genuinely, I get straight up blunt
You got hecklers
comments
in
like
the
that.
you got hecklers, you
Yeah.
got family member hecklers.
Yeah.
Uh,
And what's crazy is 1 year
yeah,
later, when I
yeah,
did my first talk at the mosque and I started Sunnah strength and clients were coming in,
yeah.
that the same guy who heckled me in front of like people in public came
Mm.
to me, was like, I'm diagnosed with XYZ. Can you help me? Alhamdulillah, we reversed the illness he had. So I'm not going to go into like who he
SubhanAllah.
is because it started off with
MashaAllah.
him in a bad way
Yeah,
and it's a good way now.
that's
But
amazing,
I
man.
actually stood there like, I contemplated for a second, like I was gonna say, "I told you," when he came to me, but I didn't.
To that,
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was like, then he came to me like in my house actually, just to ask me like, basically, yeah, I got this issue. I was
The
like,
same relative that
yeah,
heckled you in the street?
yeah. It's just he's like
SubhanAllah.
an uncle kind of, innit? Because
Yeah,
every guy on the old man is an uncle. So
yeah,
he's
yeah,
an
yeah,
uncle that basically just said he was in a joking way but mocking way at the same time.
yeah,
Where they put the kids down like that,
yeah,
and he's just putting me down and saying it's not gonna work out. It's stupid.
yeah,
And then he comes to me asking me for advice on his health.
yeah.
And I'm telling you, bro, that
That's
same uncle hypes me up anywhere he goes now. That's
that's
the funny
crazy,
thing.
man.
Alhamdulillah, that's
Yeah,
the good thing. He didn't like, he humbled himself. He could have took my help and stayed arrogant, but like no.
mm,
Anywhere he goes, he hypes me up. He might be responsible for all the uncles coming to me now. He might
yeah.
be. Solely this one guy.
That's a really inspiring story, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like for me, like I don't, man. It's been so many years. I think so many people, trying to pretty much bending my arm to go on YouTube and to talk about this niche that I'm involved in, the people that I help, and kind of share kind of my knowledge, just like studying these type of things, and obviously there's so many there was so many like doubts about like how what people say this and this blah blah blah. There's so many things that you kind of go through, and yeah, I don't think I would be had the comfort to actually even do this. No matter how like connected you are with um with the issue, with the people that you want to help and the people you have helped and all those type of things. Like, but yeah, at the back of your mind, there's still like, oh, I don't know about this, and yeah, especially being a Riva, like you're like, how am I going to be perceived? Like Islamically, am I going to make all these kind of errors, or am I going to be too raw? Or am I not going to be? There's so many things. Um, but like that uncle, that you didn't let that deter you. And then when you kind of yeah, like get those moments, or you're able to impact that person's life and reverse, like a
Yeah.
health condition, that's massive, right? Like it
Yeah.
makes it worthwhile, and a lot of it is like just kind of getting over yourself in a way. But yeah. So alhamdulillah, I'm happy that we're doing Muslim Men Unfiltered, and yeah, we're just kind of sharing real stories, like kind of our journey, and and hopefully people kind of like yeah resonate with what we're doing, and yeah, just kind of opening up the conversation for people to kind of talk about these issues, and maybe people are just sick of just hearing you know just the what's kind of been hot, like, which is like the hard talking, like, yeah, you need to just pull up
Yeah.
by the bootstraps, and you just need to get on with it. Like that type of
Yeah.
message, I think.
People would call that toxic. But at what point would you call that toxic? Like that message that you're saying, at what point does it go too far? Or does it become, let's say, un-Islamic?
I don't know about an Islamic. I mean, that's yeah, I won't touch that.
Yeah.
But um,
But what point does it actually become negative? Because it's supposed to be good. It's all about taking responsibility, accountability, it's all man up. But at what point does man up become
hmm,
negative?
I'll give a I'll try to give a more nuanced answer.
Okay.
Um, so I know, like, 'cause so in my generation, in my millennials, um, you just, and I'm just like really interested to see like, because as you kind of you grow, you just want to learn more about what makes your generation the way that it was, and then you end up discovering like there's a lot of like big social factors that played a role in how your generation thinks, how your generation is perceived by the generation that came before you. And when you hear people talking about, you guys were given participation trophies, you guys were given ribbons for like coming last. Like that's why you guys are all entitled. Like that's why you guys just don't have any resilience. That's why you guys like when you actually look at it, they're actually right. Like they're actually right because there was a whole movement where parents of like the 80s and 90s, I think 70s and 80s, and there was a whole like studies that was done and it was backed by psychologists and things like that where they thought like preserving like children's self-esteem was the best way to nurture healthy like boys and girls. And it was kind of supported by after that, like the government was supporting it. And that's why in our generation, yeah, there was like this whole kind of trophies, participation trophy, all that type of thing was kind of done. And it got to the point where like you don't want to be too like you don't want to break that person down because you might ruin their self-esteem and then you might be hurting how they function in adulthood. Um, but then it caused like this entitlement thing. And I don't know if it was like the movies they were watching, the shows, whatever, like, but everyone thought that like life was gonna be sweet. Like you're just gonna be in your early 20s, you're gonna have like you're gonna be driving a nice car, you're gonna live in a big house. And it was just like there was no evidence to really back up why that was, but it was just because it was just the expectation that was ingrained. Like there was so many factors that was kind of building that picture. So when these guys do say that, there is truth to that. Like there is actually truth because like you look at it like there was a whole way of parenting teaching that kind of happened. I didn't get like all of that when I'm painting when I'm painting. I got teachers that were like, yeah, they were still old school. Um, but that's actually what happened. And now you got employers that don't know how to deal with these guys because they're like, man, I can't even give like a critique because this person is like they can't handle it psychologically. They think it's a personal attack. I'm just like, bro, I'm just giving you
Yeah.
feedback because we're paying you to perform this function and you're not doing it. Like, and so there is an element of truth on that. On the flip side, like we've just talked about, when you kind of, berating people, like talking down to people, and they already have this sense of, um, they have low self worth. Already have this really, they already have this really poor self image and you're just kind of piling on, that doesn't help. And a lot of that is obviously the way that they're kind of interpreting the events, like the lens that they've put out into the world. So yeah, that message can rub a lot of people the wrong way. And especially if they don't feel like like they don't feel like a sincerity that you're actually saying these things because you want to uplift people. Like you're just saying it just because you just want to flex on people. You want to, you know, you just want to talk down to people. Like if people feel that's the perspective you're coming from and they don't feel that like underlying there's an uplifting because sometimes like you'll have coaches in whatever sport like basketball coaches that are like really direct, but you felt like these guys just wanted you to be better. Like you could see past through that. Um, if you that's it's hard to judge where people are coming from, right? So that's why you can only the only thing you can do is like to give them um a more positive lens to kind of because it's just easier to change you than change others, right? Um, but I guess people like just having a more wider spectrum of kind of like Muslim men just talking about things like I don't know how many people talk about self compassion, like having self worth, like on a and you're a fitness guy, I'm a porn recovery dude. Like we're not so maybe the spectrum is not as wide as it should be, because I think for certain people that package that kind of tough, like hard, more bit more kind of what you call it, rough messaging. People need to hear that, and like I think for a certain demographic, that's exactly what they need. But for other people, they need a whole different message because just in their context, um, they're in a different place, and that they need different messaging.
Yeah, because I'm Gen Z,
Yeah,
but I actually benefit from the harsher talk because I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in a I'm second generation immigrant, and my dad very much so reminded us of that. Like he would randomly would be saying, "I watch TV," and you just drop a speech. He just drop a speech about
yeah,
like how you should be grateful and stuff like that. And
yeah,
he was strict. So yeah, there was. I really left the house as a kid to go. I've never been to a friend's house until I was 19. I
what?
went. I went
Yeah,
to. I went to one friend's house when I was 14, and in the same week I went to another. No, no, one was 14. I went to one friend's house when I was 8, and the other friend lived on the same road. I went to his house the following week. I never went to another friend's house again. Not for bad reasons, not because they didn't trust me. Just in our house was like, it just didn't. I wanted to, it just I don't know. I guess I was too afraid to ask. And when I
yeah,
did, I was like shy. It was just different.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had I had many sleepovers, all getting
yeah,
up to mischief. Like it was just like a normal thing, but
yeah,
um, but obviously I didn't come from like a Muslim household, so um, but even then, yeah, it was just very common. But it, like yeah, like I said, like my dad, I'm technically I'm an immigrant because I came when I was like a child when I was like 4. But I didn't even need these guys to tell me like because I already saw I'm like, all right, I might like when I was my dad's age, he'd already went through so much providing for a young family, refugee in this guy. And I'm like, and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, dude, you're just playing FIFA online, rolling up to lectures, like barely making it on time. Um, so I already saw, I'm like, there's a massive discrepancy here. Um, and I already knew there was something going on. And I'm like, okay, I better actually like, make changes and, quote unquote man up a bit here um because ultimately I didn't like the direction I was going. So I had a real kind of example to kind of to see. Um but maybe for others they didn't have that. Like it was the full blown thing that I was kind of describing where, it was like whole entitlement generation. It was all about preserving self-esteem and they didn't foresee like the the kind of consequences of raising a whole generation like that. And now they're kind of seeing in retrospect, like, oh, okay, it's actually made them more difficult. It's tough for them to accept feedback, criticism, like everything seen as a personal attack. Like that makes it very difficult for that person to function in the real world. Because once you're out of that bubble, once you're out of that bubble, universe, whatever, and you go into the like real, like corporate world, adult world, working world, and you're dealing with people from 10 years older than 20 years old, like you're just kind of preparing them for failure. You've setting them up for failure in a way. Um, so there's like that's done now, right? So you can't just like
yeah,
and there's and and also it can't be used as an excuse now. Now that you know that that's kind of like okay, that's what happened with the, and I know I'm kind of using the millennials as an example. It could be any generation, not every generation. Like I'm sure there's like the way that we just gave broke down. Look at the millennials. Um, like Gen X would have had the whole thing. Man, these guys got told that smoking cigarettes was great. I mean, they had doctors literally in their coats saying like doing adverts, right? And how many people like develop like lung cancer and things like that because of that? And so no, like so every generation is gonna have some type of thing like, oh, okay, like that was bad, that failed, whatever. Um, so you can't just like use as an excuse or you want someone to blame because blaming this, that, whatever. Oh, they created this industry. That's why I'm a porn addict. If they didn't like, it's like you can't really take that lens anymore because it's first of all like you relinquish all power to change once you do that. And I'm guessing like with your clients, like you know, oh, if they didn't have all of these confectionaries and if all that food was so processed, I wouldn't be fat. I'm like, well, they're not going to change how food is made just for you, right? So
Yeah,
you're gonna have to make the changes yourself, and you know you're gonna have to cook for yourself. You can there's food prep. You can't you can't hope the external world changes so it meets your demands basically.
yeah. Because thing is, life's hard either way. Being fat is a struggle. It is. Like I've had clients come to me and we just all he did was walk on the treadmill for a bit, for a while. Early on I had a very heavy client and he was just like, bro, my knees hurt. Now my ankle hurts. And everything's hurting. Because he can't do a simple like walking up and down the stairs without getting tired and feeling like he wants to pass out. It's a struggle. Maybe not eating the food he wants, that part's easy. But how he feels after he eats, the sickness, the tiredness, very difficult. Going to work, using the toilet, using a public toilet, very difficult. It's a struggle. Now, for someone who wants to stay in shape, the for you the struggle is eating a bit cleaner, especially in an environment where everything's unhealthy. Picking the right choice when you're out with your family because this guy's having a burger, but you're like, the healthier option would be steak, but I do want a cheeseburger with all these pickles and everything inside. I don't mind it, but for today, I'm just gonna have steak, maybe sweet potato fries. It still tastes great, but smart option. It's that's kind of a struggle because in front of your face, there's all this other food. Going to the gym, even working out at home, struggle. But the reward is health, wealth, looking more attractive, feeling good, having more confidence. But there's still a struggle either way. So
Hmm.
then you're left with choose your struggle. Which one do you want? The reason why is for that person who's fat that can't change is they're comfortable, even though they are struggling. They're just used to that. Now, someone who's fit, it seems hard, but it's very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with the life I live. I feel better when I actually go to the gym because it's now the new norm. It's how a habit. But there was um a period of time where it was a that was the struggle. The change is now the new struggle. Throughout your life, you're just gonna struggle either way. You just pick which one you want. So pick the one that's better for you. Pick the one that's better for your health, your wealth, your family, and your iman. That's really as simple as it is. You just need to remove it from your mindset that I know the journey is gonna be hard, but it's not like what you're doing now isn't. And I acknowledge that. It's just let's have a new frame of mind. You're on a different challenge now, and that life is also gonna be a struggle. And guess what? Before you even get there, the period of transformation is a completely new struggle. It's
Hmm.
just which one do you prefer?
Right. Yeah, I think that's well said.
Think, you know, because your addiction is very much linked to how they feel women perceive them as well. I feel like social media, not just men telling men they need to be a certain way, women telling men they need to be a certain way, I think affects them even more than men telling them they need to be a certain way. Do you feel like that's true?
Um, I don't I guess it's tough to say because then I don't think I've had any of them kind of share specifically that that was the main kind of driver or issue. I think it's just the accessibility, man, because it's like
Yeah,
this is an easier way for me to achieve like this artificial intimacy. It's a click away. I dictate what I watch when it ends, and going through the like trying to achieve that in real life through the halal means is there's obviously a lot more difficulty with that. Um, and also like and when they have like they haven't been able to process their emotions properly, process like have a healthy connection with what intimacy is because they've used pornography as like a de facto type of relationship and replacement of that, then I guess that there is some there is some type of realignment they need to make with like actual sisters in real life. And there's obviously it's like a journey, right? Because not everyone is kind of focusing on that immediately. There's obviously some people that have different kind of things that they're stuck in. It could just be the like you were talking about. It's the unhappy with the career work thing and the way that they perceive where they're at or where they when they compare to where they feel that they should be at in life, and where they are, and they're just kind of dealing with that kind of dynamic and kind of emotionally processing that, and so that maybe that's what they're focusing on, and then maybe other brothers are in a it's like they made good progress, and then maybe they've been trapped into this mindset of like, okay, great, like I'm good now, I got this under control. I don't need to get married eventually. I'm just gonna be I'm sweet now. And then they get trapped into this and then they fall off and then they repeat the cycle.
oh,
And then they're like, okay, yeah, I don't need a woman. Like, I don't need to get married, whatever. Um, so they might get trapped into it's like the success in their recovery becomes like a hubris for their downfall. It's like eventually there's only real like for us being Muslim, like there's only one way you can, you know, fulfill
yeah,
your desires and to have. And when we say this, we don't just want to just reduce intimacy as to like you're just doing the act, right? It's like it's the whole package, right? It's you're getting it. It's like you almost need to like educate them as like there's another human being. There's you're gonna be sharing like emotions together, experiences. This is a reciprocal relationship, right? Like this is something that unlike whatever you've done digitally, that's not real. And and once they've recovered, like getting them into a place where they feel kind of emotionally kind of stable enough to be able to pursue that and getting over their fears and the baggage and and then that's when the kind of negative programming towards sisters can be like an impediment for that brother who's ready, like he's already shown, like gotten he's stable, he's had sustained success. Now, like the next step is to like actually engage with the process of talking to sisters, going down the proper means of getting married and talking to walis and things like that. Yeah, and then that's when the kind of messaging from the kind of the what do you want to call it? We're still going to call it red pill. I don't know, whatever. That doesn't help that brother when he's just seeing like a compilation of like the worst stories of like the worst
oh yeah,
sisters. Um,
yeah,
so I forgot what your initial question was, but we kind of yeah that's
uh,
pretty much like the the journey.
yeah. Because I think I find with guys, especially single guys, and they come coaching, it's not like we talk about it immediately because it's not why they've come, but there's something in them that of course everyone has it in them, but they want to look good to impress women as a guy. But there's something in them that's not just that. There's an insecurity that they feel like they're never gonna be worth a good woman. So they're just yeah. And that's one of the parts that's deep inside that usually gets fixed once they just change their attitude. Because I don't really need to deal with that. It's only because some of them have opened up, be like,
Mm,
oh man, there's no good sisters left. And then we just started a different
mm,
conversation trying to figure out why do you think like that. But there is a part of them that always feels like that. But usually the thing that's why mental health and physical health are so intertwined that sometimes the only way to heal your mind is to move. Like get out of your entire environment, go for a walk, sit in the sun. Just sometimes removing yourself from an environment can actually remove you from that headspace that you're in right now too. So for a lot of these guys, the moment their physique starts changing, like and the environment, like they lose those bad friends. They just attend the mosque more. Just being in the mosque is like
mm,
there's blessings in itself. There's you're surrounded by angels. Praying salah on time instead of just praying. Praying it properly with khushu. Like the idea of I'm not worth it just disappears. It slowly just goes away. It always come back because you're gonna watch some guy on Instagram saying something or some sister telling men why they're so useless. It'll always be there. Yeah.
yeah,
But but eventually as you change your physique, the mind
yeah,
just adapts with it.
yeah. I feel like if we go any more deeper, it's gonna like, we're not gonna do it justice. It's gonna need its own episodes. I feel like when we talk
Yeah.
about go into that a bit more deeper. But yeah, it's definitely something. Um, it's definitely something they think about. We all think about it, right? Like on some level. Um, but the one thing I want to stress is for like the ones that like the only time that they're like positive, like and happy about like the adamant they want to get married is like it shouldn't be only when you're so freaking out of like your porn addiction is going out of control and they're just like, I need to get married. Like that's not the type of mindset you want to be in when you're taking that next step. You know, I don't want to like scare people off like you need to there's no like I don't think there's like a specific number of months you need to be clean in order to, you know, to like yeah, that person's ready. But I just like I'm talking about the ones that are like you you can't just be going in there because it's like, oh hi, you know, person that's gonna allow me to express my my desires in a halal way. I can't I
Yeah.
like I couldn't deal with the porn addiction and now I'm engaging in this for that purpose only.
Yeah.
Like that can't be the be all end all how you kind of get into a relation, right? It's not even really that it's not even fair on the sister. Like that's like because I do see this because I've seen the reason I bring this up is like you go on like Reddit forums and you kind of understand like because you just want to get an understanding of like the psychology and how people kind of think about the issue. And I've been in so many groups now, and you just be like, yeah, I just need to get married. Like it's like you know that that shouldn't be you shouldn't be kind of looking at that when you're in that place. Obviously, once they've climbed out of that place, um, and then you know, then it should be definitely a step that you should be taking, right? Because we just talked about the brothers that like they fall into that false sense of security. They're like, all right, great, like I'm cool now. I don't really see this as like an issue. Obviously, I'm still going to keep the same behaviors that got me to this success. I'm not going to forget about that. You know, that it's an addiction, right? So it's like it's almost like a forever thing in the way that a trigger can reignite the same kind of patterns of behavior at any one point. But it shouldn't be the for the other person that's like they're in the deep trenches of the addiction. They shouldn't just be like, okay, marriage. That's the eject button. The plane's going down. The eject button. I'm just gonna just fly out and like yeah, marriage. Like it's it's like okay, well, do you want to marry my daughter? Well, I'm trying to get over this addiction, and you know, I'm thinking your daughter's gonna be the way that I'm gonna overcome it. Like that's yeah, that's wrong, right? That's crazy. Um, that's how some
Do
people.
you think it can help?
That's how some people have
Do you
been
think
programmed to think. Like that's how they. That's when they should approach marriages. Like when the addiction is completely out of control. Um,
Oh no, okay, no, no, I don't agree
yeah,
with that.
you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
okay, okay, yeah.
this is, um,
But do
yeah.
you think it can be a means to heal the addiction?
Yeah,
Do you think it should
absolutely.
be a
Like I
means to
said, like
heal?
I,
Yeah.
I told you, like, the people that who like they've had 6 dates. I fear for the ones that like they're like anti-marriage, like they have anti-women sentiments, anti-marriage,
Oh,
um, because they're like they've been clean sustained, like they're sustained for like a significant amount of time. Like that is a trap, right? Because long term, at some point, like Allah's put that kind of that desire in you, right?
yeah.
That's how humanity. That's how we've been all born, right? So um to think that you can just like forever not succumb to that, then that's a bit foolish. But on the flip side, I was just talking about because you just see this mindset, right? In these groups and forums, they just be like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna get married, and hopefully, like, it'll just solve itself." Because
I despise Muslim Reddit. I don't
yeah,
want to be on it. I went on it
yeah,
when I was a teenager. I read all these random stories. They made
mm,
me lose hope in like Islam, like humanity, Muslim marriages in general. When I was a teenager,
yeah,
like it actually built like a hatred towards women for a short time. So I was like, I don't want to be on this. I'm never gonna be in this forum again. I
yeah.
just
Like,
left it.
as in, like, that's the only time that it's worth like putting yourself out there is when you're in the deeps of this. Like, but any other circumstance, like if I didn't have this addiction, I wouldn't even date it. Like, I didn't like that can't be like that. Yeah, that can't be the mindset. But anyway, like obviously it's we're just talking general
Mm.
uh, in generalities. So um, it's different from person to person, and yeah.